Islam, Islam, Islam. Brother Maurice Pennington Bay, Brother Shay Ray Eel and the Sheikess K Glove Eel, the Moorish Master
Islam.
Students,
Islam.
Paradigm Shifting the Podcast, Islam. What is the
Islam.
Moorish Science Temple of America? That's the subject, y'all. What is the Moorish Science Temple of America?
Islam. Well, starting off, first and foremost, all praise be to Allah, honest to the Prophet, honest to the forerunner of the Prophet, Brother Marcus Mosiah Garvey. It is a pleasure to be here. Honest to you, Maurice Pennington Bay. Honest to you, Sister K. Glover L. What is the Moorish Science Temple of America? Simple and plain, a religious organization, specifically Islamic, and the first Islamic religious organization in America, speaking specifically August 1st, 1928, 2:52 p.m. And it is established for the uplifting of fallen humanity, plain and simple. So we had to start there, lay the foundation for it, right? All praise be to Allah for this pattern. One of the things I understand about the Moorish Science Temple of America, going deeper than just its physical manifestation, the physical structure of it, is that it is actually a pattern of a healthy, functioning mentality of the descendants of the ancient Moabites whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Islam.
Islam.
That's right. That's right. Definitely. Just to veg you back, offer you a little bit. Moorish Science Temple of America definitely is a religious organization, right? It is also it deals with, human needs, right?
That's right.
It is a kind of what you would consider to be like a social services. It is so many things. It's a hospital if you are sick, right?
Right.
And you need that assistance to be able to get, healed, right? Or you need that assistance, you need that guidance to get that prescription, right, from the doctor. It is also a national organization, right? So it deals with our nationality. Prophet Noble Drew Ali, honors to him, and all praises due to Allah for sending Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Surah 1636 says that, every nation, just paraphrasing, every nation receives its own messenger.
That's right.
And we know that Prophet Noble Drew Ali came as our messenger to remind us and wake us up that we are, we're home here in America, that we are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern, southwestern shores of Africa. Even with the word inhabited, a lot of times Moors will get, the word inhabited mixed up with, just being from somewhere else. But
Right.
we got to always remember that Prophet Noble Drew Ali was speaking on Americanism, right?
That's right.
And building on us being Americans and what we needed to do to galvanize as true Americans. It
That's right.
sounds when you go back looking at what we call document 105905, our authority, which is the religious organization articles of association,
Mm-hmm.
and in it speaks even about Prophet Noble Drew Ali making sure that we were to propagate, right, and teach, these lessons which are very ancient. They're not new,
That's
they are
not
ancient. And I
Islam.
know that a lot of people throughout the world would like to say that there was a previous prophet. I'm not gonna say his name, but there was a previous prophet,
Mhm.
which was the seal of all prophets, and no other prophet would come after that. But they don't understand what the word seal means.
That's right.
Seal is just something that you simply put on a piece of paper. Seal is what you present when you are in possession of whatever has given you possession of that seal, Islam. With that, I'll
Islam.
leave it to our brother Pennington Bay.
Islam. In Sunday school today, we talked about nationality, right? Nationality. Okay, so I asked the Moors a question. What does the word empire mean? So an empire is when a group of nations are brought together under one leadership or under one government. Okay. So then when I say now, what is a nation? So a nation is when a group of families are brought together under one government, under one leadership. Okay. So the Prophet Noble Drew Ali came and he brought these families. Remember how the Quran starts off? Dear mother, teach these lessons to your little ones. Dear fathers, teach these lessons to your little ones. Who is Allah? Allah is the father of the universe. So he's establishing the
Pennington
relationship
Bay, your
not
video went
just
out.
us and one another, but us and our God. Now,
Can
with that being the case,
I don't think you can
every
hear.
nation has its own aesthetic. They have their own principles. They have their own customs, and they have their own traditions. Okay, so with us, the Moorish Americans inside of the Moorish Science Temple of America, we have been given these things back, and we also been taught that customs change because conditions change. So within Islam, like you spoke about, our brothers in the East, who the Prophet Noble Drew Ali said we're going to have to go and straighten up. These individuals take the Prophet Muhammad as the last prophet because they misinterpret seal, which is just a symbol or a sign that authenticates something. When you put your seal, Allah said in the Quran, on this day I have perfected your religion. Not on this day I have started your religion or began your religion. But just like everything else that lives, there is a process of unfolding, So Allah loved us so much that he sent us a prophet. He loves everyone, and everyone gets a prophet. Everyone gets an opportunity. That's what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali is to the Moors in America. He is an opportunity to get it right and get what right, get living right, get life right, get this charge right. Now, I want to talk about what the Moorish Science Temple of America is not. Okay, because that's where the whole subject comes from. What the Moorish Science Temple of America is not. The Moorish Science Temple of America is still, misunderstood. Ain't that right?
Man, look, it's definitely not. I can run down a list of what it's not. It's not a consulate. It's
not a social organization.
Definitely not a social organization.
Yeah.
Not a back to Africa movement.
Not a back to Africa movement.
It's not the welfare. It's not public aid.
It's not public aid. It's also not a get out of jail free card.
Come on now, let's go.
It's also it's also not a place where you'll learn by being told. It's not a place where you won't have to put in your own work. It's not a place where you won't have to dig up your own jewels and be responsible for cultivating your own gardens.
That's right. What about is the Moorish Science Temple of America a movement where we are a group of sovereign citizens?
Come on now. Well, first and foremost, okay, let's get one thing straight. There is no legal definition of sovereign citizen. As a matter of fact, I had a client where their attorney, you'd be surprised about these attorneys. The attorney actually said that my client had said some sovereign citizen ideology. And so the response was, I'm gonna go ahead and pull up the response because, a lot of times you hear this whole, sovereign citizen thing, and we get to the point where we're like, okay, well, what is sovereign citizen, and how do I combat this whole being said that, or you being someone saying that you are a sovereign citizen, right? And so In the response, we asked the attorney to legally put in. Matter of fact, they didn't just say sovereign citizen. This attorney was so bogus. They actually said that it was nonsensical, gibberish, and sovereign citizen. Now, there is no legal definition for gibberish, nonsensical, or sovereign citizen. And it's the attorney that someone is actually paying for. And so, we put in there, we need you to legally define what is a sovereign citizen, so that we can intelligently provide a true defense for it, right? Because you got to give us the opportunity to provide a defense. If you can't give us that, then your complaint and your claim, right, is just thrown out. So, yeah, we got to stop allowing people, especially different organizations, right? You got to stop allowing these different organizations and these groups and the news media outlets to put these type of labels on us. It's no difference from when they said that not us, but they said the Moorish Science Temple of America Incorporated is a Black identity extremist group. No. Right? So, I'm always, imploring the Moorish Science Temple of America Incorporated to make the FBI stand on that, right? Don't allow the FBI, Department of Justice, or any of these other groups to label, your organization as such. Because if they said Moorish Science Temple of America, you don't think that I would be going in on Washington, D.C., there is no way I'm going to allow you to label Moorish Science Temple of America at the end of the day as such. Islam and IU.
I believe that a researcher has to have, has to be reasonable. And what I mean is when you're researching something, you wouldn't go outside of that thing to investigate that thing. That's number one. So it would be wise to kind of do the proverbial hearing it from the horse's mouth. That's number one. When you're dealing with, there was a saying once where it was said that as long as the hunter is writing the history, the lion will never be the hero. That's right. And in that right there, it's kind of like as long as you're willing to go to, a people or I'll have to say a people that are reaping the benefits of, an oppressed people. And you're going to use them to describe these individuals and things of that nature. You're not really going to get an accurate account. So it would be wise for the sake of harmony for you to actually go to the individuals that you're dealing with. For example, I've had times where people have tried to ask, what is the difference between a Muslim and a Muslim? There are answers to these types of questions. However, what I've told them on numerous occasions, although I have some understanding, is I've said, well, I'm a Moorish American Muslim, and I refer to myself as such. And what I can do is explain to you about a Moorish American Muslim. And then what I would advise you to do, in all fairness, is speak to someone who refers to themselves as a Muslim and allow them to tell you what that is to them. You see what I mean? And so this right here is how you can create a harmonious condition. So first and foremost, when you're researching, I would go to the people. Secondly, just to address, briefly the sovereign citizen, there are many people that believe, because this right here goes in line with what the Moorish Science Temple of America is not. The Moorish Science Temple of America is not an institution that in any shape, form, or fashion promotes lawlessness. That's right. It does not in any, we are law-abiding, upright, independent, and fearless people who follow the Prophet Noble Drew Ali to a destination neither unknown nor uncertain. That's right. And we move by divine higher principles of love, true peace, freedom, and justice. We move by the general principles of obedience to law, respect and loyalty to government, tolerance, and unity.
Unity.
So our overall mission is not to impart in people information or a zeal that they might seek out ways to circumvent and circumnavigate the laws.
Yeah.
Right.
And a lot of people that speak of sovereignty, so-called sovereignty, which the finite sovereignty that they're speaking of, as opposed to an infinite thing. The finite sovereignty seems to be a means of, not having to be responsible for the laws of your society. People want to run a red light. We like this is a movie where you got some sort of diplomatic immunity. Where true law is governing, you don't have immunity from your responsibilities. Where true law is governing, there is no failure to be compensated for your actions. And a lot of times, if you will speak to people and listen carefully, you'll hear in their words when they get to talking about sovereignty that they would like to be excused from their responsibility.
That's right.
Or from their social duties. Basically, and there are some who seek that, and I'm not here to severely censor anyone. However, speaking of the Moorish Science Temple of America, this isn't what the Moorish Science Temple of America is established upon.
That's right.
Islam. You spoke about the fundamental principles that the Prophet Noble Ali said would be what would civilize the posterity of he and those who were there with him at the time when he was speaking, meaning us. Okay. Now, today, when we was in Sunday school, we went over these fundamental principles. And when I asked the Moors, I said, okay, what are the principles? Because again, every nation has its own principles, and we are Moorish Americans. What are the principles that we stand for? Immediately you hear love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice.
Right.
Rarely do you hear Moors who would then speak about the fundamental principles. And these fundamental principles make up the foundation. So if the foundation has not been laid properly, then whatever structure you build on top of the foundation, then it will not be established properly. Okay. Obedience to law. We see right now today so many ills and bays because we're speaking about the Moorish Science Temple of America. So I'm not going to talk about ones outside of the Moorish Science Temple of America or ones who claim to be outside. These ones are saying that they are Moorish Americans, and yet you cussing at them when you talk about obedience to law, loyalty to government. What? You an agent? You some type of telling you who are you? Loyalty to gut tolerance, and then I put something else, because it came up. They talked about, how on applications, it says, are you a male? Are you a female? Do you not desire to say what you are? Are you binary? Do you have something else? And I said, because these individuals demonstrated the fifth fundamental principle, which is unity, they have succeeded in forcing the government to enforce tolerance on every corporation owning citizen. Now listen to what I said. Citizens who own corporations. If you own a corporation, they have forced you to be tolerant or your corporation will suffer consequences. Okay? And guess what? They are exercising our fifth fundamental principle. They come together, they move as a unit. Okay? Because the root word of unity is unit. It means that not only do we just come and symbolically press the flesh of one another, but we march and counter march in unit together against the same enemies.
That's right.
Okay. And that is important. Obedience to law does not mean that you have to agree with obedience to God. You don't have to agree with what's going on with the government right now. Loyalty to government would mean that you would act to make the government be what it needs to be and make it enforce the laws that were established for you and your people. Okay, when you don't take the opportunity to act when you have the opportunity, that's not loyalty to government. That's not loyalty to government, Mo. We have so many Moorish American Muslims, and I say Moorish American Muslims because I do not believe that they are intentionally being delinquents. I believe that they really don't know what the Moorish Science Temple of America is and what it's about. You know something that I have experienced. All praise is due to Allah. Okay. In my time being a member of this Moorish Science Temple of America, I have been used by Allah to see a lot of Moors, Asiatics, become members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, a great deal. Now, sometimes this is what happened. Visitors are coming to the temple for the very first time, and they will be moved and touched by our deliverance of these lessons to the degree that as soon as the meeting is over with, they prepare to join the Moorish Science Temple of America right then and there. And we give them a nationality card and they leave and they don't have an idea about what they just joined. They don't know nothing about the responsibilities that they now have. They don't know what the purpose of the Moorish Science Temple of America is. They don't know that every member's interest must be in one direction. They don't know this. They don't know that we are Muslims, that we don't eat swine, that we don't eat predators. They don't know that we don't demonstrate chauvinism. You know, they don't know these things. And then later on, when you see them and you start to enforce the law, which is your job, they are shocked. You know, and I realized that that's not on them, Mo. That was my fault. Because as a head of the temple at that time, when ones took up their membership, I supposed to made it clear to them what they were getting themselves into. And since the Moorish Science Temple of America, which is the first Islamic organization in the United States of America and still unknown to so many citizens of the United States of America. So, I mean, because by this time, 100+ years, people all should know what the Moors are. When they see our flag, they should know that that flag represents a clean and pure nation of people. And yet and still so many adults, I mean, long into adulthood, past middle age, they don't know what it is. People see me every day now with my turban or my fez on or wearing one of my charms, and they be like, what's that? What does that mean? They have no clue. And, you know, it kind of aches my heart that so many Asiatics, especially young Asiatics, don't know who we are and what we are about, which means that we have not been directly in their lives. We have not been, you know, giving them this everlasting gospel, this saving power. It has not been communicated and taught to the people who it's for. All right. So the Moorish Science Temple of America is not a social club. We have a duty, a job, and a charge. We come into Sunday school to learn how to do our job. Okay. And we are responsible. We walk out of Sunday school to do a job, which is uplifting fallen humanity, beginning first with one's own self. Okay. The Prophet Noble Ali said that this is why he said, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven. Okay. So many people don't know what the kingdom of heaven is. You know, they think it's some, you know, somewhere up in the sky, like the grand governor like to say, where it's some sky daddy up in the sky. You know, we don't demonstrate sky daddyisms.
That's right.
We don't sit here and we not directing all our attention and our efforts on what's going to happen when we die. No, we here right now to do a job and to unfold. Okay. The kingdom of heaven. The Prophet Noble Ali said, where is the nearest place to meet him? Talking about Allah, talking about God. Okay. I'm going to use the word God on this podcast because everybody has a name for God.
That's right.
All right. All the people worship Allah the one. All the people, but all the people see him not alike. See, this is what we teach in the Moorish Science Temple of America. Okay. Now, with that being the case, he said the nearest place to meet God is in the heart. And another name for the heart is kingdom of heaven. So seek ye first the kingdom of heaven. First, seek interest into yourself, into your own heart center, where you can actually be taught and instructed by your spirit, which is a part of God.
Islam.
Right?
Islam.
See, these things are important. These things are important. Later on, while we demonstrating this, I want to talk about, you know, the hadith of Jibril. When Jibril came, and because he had to, ones don't understand that he had to come and straighten the Prophet Muhammad out. He had to tell the Prophet Muhammad what he needs to be teaching. You know, teach these people their religion.
That's right.
You know, the Prophet Noble Ali say, teach them their divine creed and their nationality.
That's right.
This is what we supposed to be teaching. Islam.
Islam. I could come back on that a little. The Moorish Science Temple of America, as I believe Sister K. Glover L already mentioned, it's like a medical center. It's difficult. It's said that the Prophet Noble Ali had to go around his elbow to get to his thumb. Sometimes you're sent to assist a people in treating themselves for an illness that a lot of people are in denial of. We find ourselves in a state of mind known as an illness that is usually referred to as Negro, Black, or colored. And in these states of mind, what happens is a sort of retardation of the mental faculty, a sort of stagnation, which usually leads to regression or digression. And what happens is we, in these states of mind, we find ways of getting in our own way. So we don't completely develop culturally, socially, politically, economically, spiritually, educationally, nor do we necessarily have a desire to move beyond where we are, because rarely are we reflecting upon our position for the sake of advancement, for the sake of actually building our character, for the sake of setting ourselves forward by degrees. The Moorish Science Temple of America serves as a medical center where the instructions actually act as medicine to a mindset, okay, that has been firmly cemented due to the traumas of slavery. And so when you're dealing with physical slavery, that's one thing, where the mind can actually desire something that it has once known, potentially, like a sort of freedom, an autonomy, an independence, an ability to revel in self-respect, uprightness, things of that nature. But when you're dealing with the legacy of physical slavery, which is where you can take the chains off of the feet and hands and things of that nature of a being, and they no longer have a will to be free, nor do they remember a time where they actually were free by the true definition of the word. So now there's not even a desire to change their conditions. There's not a desire to change, to upgrade their education. There's not a desire to investigate, their situation for the sake of building a more harmonious condition. When you're dealing with that, you're dealing with sickness. And the Moorish Temple of America is structured in such a way where, if we so choose, we can take the instructions and actually medicate our mindsets. It serves as a pattern for a healthy, functioning mentality. When I first came into the Moorish Science Temple of America, one of the things that brought me in was the fact that they said the order of the day was nationality and divine creed. And the reason why that brought me in isn't because I had a true clue, because I didn't have a true clue about any of these things. In the beginning, when I first came into the Moorish Science Temple of America and you asked me my nationality, I would have said I was Black, African American, or some other nationality void. And when I say nationality void, I mean an identity. I was in possession of an identity that was not recognized from a legal standpoint by the government in which I lived, nor the nations of the earth. And so one of the things I found myself asking myself was, well, what is the basic relationship between these two things, nationality and creed? Nationality from a general sense being origin identity. And of course, there's an implication behind that, because man must be what man knows, and it's hard to be yourself when you don't know yourself. So, and then creed being the basic or divine fundamental principles and religious beliefs and modes of operating one's faculties of thought and understanding, reasoning, willing, things of that nature. So one of the things I asked myself was, what is the relationship between a nationality and a creed? And I started to realize, after taking medicine within the Moorish Science Temple of America, that nationality basically embodied my total identity, while the creed embodied what was necessary for me to properly express who I actually was. It's one thing to be in possession of a knowledge of your identity. It's another thing to know how to act, you know what I mean, according to who you truly are. You see what I'm saying? That's where we get into the economy of life, of course. So, you know, just to kind of, you know, bring it back in, you know, I mean, for, you know, because I don't want to digress on the topic here. So when we're dealing with the Moorish Science Temple of America, it is a place where you can learn who you are, as well as receive what it takes so that you can be who you truly are. You know, Islam.
I definitely agree. You know, when I came into Moorish Science Temple of America, before even coming to Moorish Science Temple of America, I was already learning with a unofficial study group, and I had already gotten a lot in just years of just learning, you know, world history, and I was already a law student, and so it just naturally, you know, I was naturally drawn to, the lessons of, you know, Prophet Noble Ali, what he was already given. And so when I went to the temple for the first time, and this is like 3 years in of learning, I'd never gone to a temple. But the first time I went to visit a temple, I was at a Sunday school, and the questionnaire was being read, and one of the questions was, "Is this a old time religion? Is this a new or old time religion?" And the answer was old time religion, and that's what really made me not only join but stay within the Moorish Science Temple of America, because being, you know, raised in the church, and in the church, it was always taught to us that we need to get back to the old time religion. And
That's
here
right.
I was listening now for the first time that, hey, Islamism is the old time religion. And so that's what not only helped me to, you know, come and join, but it's what has kept me in this, you know, in this movement, because I know really what the old time religion is now.
Because we have an issue with new things, or things that we perceive
Yes, we
to be new.
definitely do.
And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because, you know, as we've learned in the Moorish Science Temple of America, that the Prophet Noble Drew Ali had so many issues with actually bringing and establishing the message to the people here in North America, because what he was bringing was perceived as something new. And so, you know, and this is, again, this right here is a telltale sign of, again, the legacies of slavery, where you can't even recognize. You get to a point, it's a heck of a thing when you get to a point, due to your trauma, where someone can show you glimpses of things that are yours, and you will actually not only not recognize it, but shun it. You know, and when people can actually show you not only something that's yours, but show it to you with the proper interpretations, so that it can actually be used for the benefit of uplifting you from the fallen stages of humanity, and you shun that as well. So indeed, I bear witness that, you know, and I saw it in myself, to be totally honest. You know, I thought that and originally what the temple was offering was something kind of new. This is, and of course, this was something that I hadn't seen the 101s yet, and things of that nature. And also, I was under the impression that, you know, the church, because I grew up in a home where, you know, when religion was spoken of, it was only going to be from a Christian standpoint, a church's standpoint. And so I grew up believing that Islam. I grew up believing that Jesus.
You know something? The Prophet Noble Drew Ali directs our attention to something very important in the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, in chapter 4 of our Holy Quran. He talks about, you know, he said that, and when you would make me know that sins are washed away by purity in life, a right symbolic may be introduced. A right symbolic, okay? Because the object of man's life is always his complete unfoldment, okay? But a right symbolic may be introduced. He say it's a cleansing right, okay? And then he says that those or they who thus are cleansed comprise the temple of purity. So in that, he's telling us that the Moorish Science Temple of America is not a place All right. It's not somewhere where we go in and we sit down and we convene and we learn or we discuss things. It's not a place. The Moorish Science Temple of America is actually the faithful members.
That's
And when
right.
those who think that their conditions can be better come into the Moorish Science Temple of America seeking shelter or seeking the remedy, seeking the medicine, seeking the legal advice, or whatever it is that they seeking that can make their conditions better, they become one with the body. They join the Moorish Science Temple of America, and we, the members, whereas member and citizen are synonymous with
That's
us.
right.
With the Moorish Science Temple of America,
Right.
our citizens are called members because we are all parts of one divine body. So
That's
these
right.
individuals, they come in and we shelter them. We teach them. We keep them safe. We heal them when they are sick. Okay? This is what the Moorish Science Temple of America is. And that's why the three things that the Prophet Noble Drew Ali said that it takes to make a nation are what? Character, free national standards, and power.
That's right.
Character first. That's the one thing that can get your butt kicked out of the Moorish Science Temple of America. You will be expelled if you do not possess the character of a Moor, the character of a Moorish American. Okay. Okay. And this comes with, our desire to love one another, because we know that Allah is love and we desire to love one another, even when you get on my nerve. All right, Sheikess. Even when you give me 1,000,000 assignments, 3419 appointments, and all of those things, guess what? I love you and you love me back. Shay Ray, when we walk them yards in prison, all of them Asiatics in prison that was going through the substance abuse issues, they was going through, the hurt and pain from not knowing what their woman was doing out there in the world, the hurt and pain from losses that happen every day. And they was coming to us, and we sheltered and ministered to that within them individuals that was causing them suffering and pain, because that's what Moorish Americans do. This is what we are taught. Okay, to relieve suffering and pain. And this is the job of a real government. A real government is to create processes by which its citizens can unfold completely and become the best that they are capable of being. All right, that's why Moorish science is the study of self, the true economy of human life, like you just brought it up. The Prophet Noble Drew Ali redefined economy. I'm a business law student, and I remember the first time when I took Economics 101, and it defined economics as building on human wants. Building on human wants. Whereas the Prophet Noble Drew Ali come and said that we are building on human needs.
That's right.
That's right.
Because this is what's important to us as leaders in the Moorish Science Temple of America, having the needs of our people fulfilled.
Right.
Not building on their wants because we want to suck them dry.
Come on now.
John called ones who demonstrated them degrees what? Tumors on the body of the state. He said that they were cancers. Okay? This is a warning to all Moorish Americans who are in the Moorish Science Temple of America, who have authority and leadership over members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, and don't do your job.
Islam.
Cancers get radiated and removed. Ain't that right, y'all? We gotta remove the cancers, Mo. We gotta remove the cancers.
Just to veggie back real quickly on, when members come in to the temple, one of the things that I'm always teaching is, one of the questions that I ask, very early on is, do you know what you're joining? Do you know what you are asking to be a part of? Do you understand the divine constitutional bylaws and additional laws? And, a lot of times people are like, yeah, I've heard of it, but I really don't know. And so our thing is to educate, because that's what I really feel that the temple has been missing out on greatly, is the part of being able to educate, right? And then to educate effectively. So now we're not just reciting, because, you can learn the divine constitution of bylaws, the additional laws. You can learn all of, every 48 verse to every 48 chapters within the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. However, do you know how to apply it? Shout out to brother Chairman A. Griffinell, who always says that Moorish science is an applied
Applied
science.
science.
So
That's
you
right.
can't just come in and just read and recite and resuscitate. You actually have to apply it to your everyday life. So we make that known very early on when you first come into the temple. There's a lot of temples, right? There's a lot of temples that you can go to and that you can be a part of. But this temple over here, under this home office, you actually have to want your conditions to be better and work towards it. A while back, I gave an assignment on, on the ladder, right? And I asked Moors to take something that they have not been able to master and accomplish, and take that and utilize, right, the latter in order to actually accomplish it. And a lot of more say, when I did it that way, I've been working on it, or I've accomplished it, or even I'm mastering it now, right? But it's something that you have been trying to do and you have not been able to do it because you did not take, or you didn't have the format to be able to take that want, that need, that goal, and to be able to take the lessons and apply it to making sure that you are mastering that goal, right? That you accomplish that goal. And so this is really what Moorish science is. It's not, like you said, a get out of jail free card. It's not somewhere where you can come and beg members to, help you pay your rent and help you pay your utilities, help you pay your phone bill, because you and your children are going to be put out in the next 24 hours. That's not what this is, right? If you have that issue and you knew that rent was due on the 1st, that means that you have, if it's something that is not something that happened where you just now you can't afford rent, but you work every day, your spouse works every day, that's poor management of your finances. And again, Moorish Science Temple of America over here, we have a remedy for that, right? We put out the 30 Days to Fund Your Life group on Facebook, many, many years ago. And that's to the public. And then when you become a member and your Mighty Networks, you get access to the credit restoration process. And with that, it's still 30 Days to Fund Your Life, but now you have more that you have access to be able to accomplish. So no matter what it is that you're going through within your life, it's something within Moorish Science Temple of America that you can utilize to make your conditions better.
Islam. So we're talking about, something that's set up so that you might actually govern in your life, that you might be the Lord over your plane of soul, over the plane of things made manifest. And when something is set up to do something like that, that means that it in and of itself is that. So it's important that people understand the Moorish Science Temple of America as being a government. I wanted to read something here. The Holy Prophet Noble Drew Ali set up the Moorish Science Temple of America under the divine guidance of Allah. And in the final step in forming the Moorish Science Temple of America, the Holy Prophet properly filed an affidavit in the Cook County Recorder's Office of Illinois. A copy of this affidavit can be found on the back cover of the pamphlet titled Quran Questions for Moorish Americans. On the bottom of the page, one will notice the phrase, quote, see Heard's Revised Statute, chapter 32, 36. Upon investigation of Heard's chapter 32, one will see the exact blueprint of the copy of the affidavit found on the back cover of the pamphlet titled Quran questions for Moorish Americans. And I'm reading this so that people might, go and investigate and see exactly what the Moorish Science Temple of America is, fundamentally speaking. Okay. Chapter 32 is relevant to religious corporations specifically. And paragraph 165 of the chapter reveals that religious corporations formed under this act has the potential, meaning the manifest of power, to be recognized as a nation or state. And by nation or state, there's no comma here. We're talking about one and the same. Okay. Herd's chapter 32, paragraph 165 reads as follows. It says, quote, any church, congregation, or society formed for the purpose of religious worship may become incorporated in the manner following, to wit, by electing or appointing according to its usages and customs at any meeting held for that purpose, two or more of its members, which is also, as the brother Pennington Bay already pointed out, synonymous with the word citizens.
That's right.
All right. By electing two or more of its members as trustees, wardens, or vestrymen. And of course, these are different terminologies. So within this, it also says, or such other officers whose powers and duties are similar to those of trustees, as such be agreeable to the usage and customs, rules, or regulations of such congregation, church, or society. So in other words, we may not elect people under those titles, but sheikh, grand sheikh, so forth and so on. And then as you investigate the Moorish Science Temple of America, you will start to understand some of those titles given. And it further reads, and may adopt a corporate name, and upon the filing of the affidavit, as hereinafter provided, it shall be and remain a body politic and corporate by the name so adapted. So at any rate, the Moorish Science Temple of America is and remains a body politic. According to Black's Law Dictionary, 3rd edition, the legal term body politic is exactly defined as the collective body of a nation or state. All right, as politically organized or as exercising political functions. Okay. In other words, the Moorish Science Temple of America is the collective body of the Moorish nation in America. As the brother Pennington Bay just stated, it is the body of these people. But the collective body of the Moorish nation in America, the Moorish Science Temple of America, is the sole legitimate representative of the Moorish American people, the true government of the Moorish nation. Islam?
Islam, brother Yamin Bey. Islam, yes. And guess what? If you would have had your tail in Sunday school for the last couple weeks, instead of standing around on your meeting period, there would not have been a question mark at the end of your comment. Yes, 805 ILCS 110. Right. Islam, young Mo, get your tail in Sunday school and you will not have a question mark at the end of your comment. You'll be able to state these with clarity and authority to individuals when they ask you. Islam, the little brother in the Islam, Sheikess Bay, Islam, Mo, Islam, Ulysses Moore, Islam, Grand Governor Neil Bay, Islam. All praise due to Allah. Absolutely. I'm reading some of the comments, y'all. That's all.
All praise be to Allah. It's an honor to have brothers tune in and listen.
That's right.
As we like to say, sometimes Islam, I think Sister K. Glover L, you're muted. I see you speaking. I just don't hear you.
Islam. Definitely. The veggie back off of, some of the things that y'all been saying is, first of all, brother Yamin Bey, make sure you make your Sunday school meet in Islam. The second of all, when we talk about the religious corporation and, things that you can do and what you can't do, right? And, a lot of times we really don't know what we can do, because you got to remember, we're coming from the mindset of the public school education system.
That's right.
And the public school education system is not a system to create leaders. All right. It's a system to create consumers and followers. Even though you may believe and think that you're actually, think about it. Think about all of these, people who profess to be, oh, I'm a leader, and and I went to school and it taught me how, good leadership, and it taught me. You're just following, right, the system that was created for you to follow. And when you begin to think outside of that system and you begin to act outside of that system that was put together for you, now you're considered to be a sovereign citizen. You're considered to be pseudo, right? You're considered to be, weird and crazy, because now you can actually have a thought that is your own, not a thought that was given to you, right? Not a thought that was taught to you, but a thought of your own, and you are exercising that thought. So within the Moorish Science Temple of America, right, you actually have opportunity to exercise your own thoughts.
Islam.
There's no other religion or organization that is religious or national that allows you to exercise your own thoughts without condemnation, right? Without being told, oh, your thought is wrong, or your thought is a half thought, or your thought is an ill thought. No, your thought is your thought, right? Because you are where you are finding yourself best to work out your own issues. No one else can do it for you. No one can think for you. And so that's one of the things that I really enjoy about the Moorish Science Temple of America, is because you can actually have your own thoughts, formulate them, and work out your own issues. Islam?
Islam,
Brother Yamin Bey. I know you've been busy, Mo. I was just throwing a little chastisement out there, playfully. I know you busy, Mo. I know. Islam. And yes, he was reading from Herd's Revised Statute. All right, like the Prophet Noble Ali said on the back of the Quran questionnaire. See Herd's Revised Statute. All right. So I hope that answered your question. If it didn't, let us know. If we need to drop the link in the chat so you can pull up in the studio, for the final. We probably gonna go for another 30 minutes or so. But if you need to pull up in the studio and build, you're welcome to do so. Just say the word Islam. The Prophet Noble Ali said that if I could get my people to think they could save themselves, so absolutely, we definitely promote individuals thinking for themselves. And where there's unity, then it's safe to think, even if you get it wrong. Mo, I can't tell the Moors how often I've actually stood up because, being in an institution, forced into a position by necessity as a Sunday school instructor, as a new member. I can't tell the Moors how often I came up there, with my theories and my opinions and, my surface knowledge of Moorish science, and teaching it as if, I was demonstrating understanding, but my understanding had not even yet, like the brother Shay Rayil said in the beginning, I had not even yet dug my understanding up. I ain't even discovered my understanding, So we make mistakes and we think, but we have each other to lean on. We are each other's pillars, okay? Islam has 5 pillars, and those pillars is what makes this an impregnable doctrine. Those 5 pillars, the oneness of Allah, the Tawheed, prayer, fasting, charity, Hajj, going within. Those 5 pillars make this an impregnable doctrine. And what makes this an impregnable nation of people, a clean and pure nation of people, is us being pillars for one another. The support that we give to each other. That's why the Quran says that when work is backed by love, when it's backed by love, back means support. Okay. Then we work and we happy to work. We toil and we happy to toil. You know, because we know that we toiling towards a future where our young people won't have to go through the things that we suffer. They don't have to suffer their own, you know, but they won't have to suffer what we suffer. That's right. You know, that's what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali came, and he could see into the future. You know, I give honors to the Grand Sheikh R.F. Wazir. He always talks about the Prophet's divine plan of the ages. He always reinforces that. You know, whenever he has the chance to communicate with Moors, he reinforces that measure. You know, the Prophet's plan is a divine plan for the ages. It's not something here for the moment. You know, the Prophet came to place a ball on Babylon, and that ball is rolling and rolling and rolling, like the Prophet said. Ours is a wheel inside of a wheel turning. It's in motion. And that's important. And all of these things, these sovereign citizen ideals and all of these other ideals, everything that has been placed in the way of the Asiatic to impede the Asiatic's progress, you know, are just distractions trying to distract us from a destiny that we are absolutely going to reach. We are absolutely going to reach it, you know. And I want to talk about one more thing that we talked about in Sunday school today. The illusion called disunity, y'all. You know, ones think that the Moorish Science Temple of America is in a state of disunity, that we actually oppose one another. That is an illusion. There is not a single faithful member of the Moorish Science Temple of America who sees another faithful member as an opposition to themselves. Okay? I want to talk about that for a minute, though. This illusion of disunity.
If I can, you know, and honest to the brother for bringing this up. It's very important because, you know, a lot of our people have been sickened with this divide and conquer mentality. Mm-hmm. What happens is we do what's called separating in the world. Mm. Okay. When I say world, I mean a sphere of mental activity. So like any other nation of people, like any family, okay? I'm talking about the family where you and your sibling that came from the same womb might have disagreements or separate or be at odds in opinions about things and so forth. You know what I mean? These things are called separating in the world. All right. And again, when I say world, that's a sphere of mental activity. So we might separate in the sphere of mental activity, but here's the kicker. Just because you don't see things from a mental standpoint the same, one of the things that's so beautiful about the culture, you know what I'm saying, and the laws and the contracts that a Moorish American Muslim actually has with the great God of the universe and with all of the other aspects of the great God of the universe, because all living things are bound by cords to every other living thing. So truly, in essence, we're one. But the thing is this, one of the contracts we have is that when we separate, not if, there's a contract that says when. So surely you won't always see things eye to eye. Abraham and Abraham's father, Abraham was known as a friend to Allah. Abraham and his own father didn't see eye to eye, but they didn't transgress bounds of divine principles. Right. Nor do those whom Abraham called the Muslims. So no, we do not agree on every single point. We share our understandings, and our understandings are gifts. They're treasures of Allah, and we're appointed different portions and different measures. And so sometimes we don't meet at the table with the same portion and the same measure. So we defer. Okay. However, we are under divine contract, and those who believe, those who are upright and practicing in the faith. Okay. This does not cause us to be separate in any shape, form, or fashion, because when we defer or when we separate here, we remember the relation. See, it's in these moments that you call to your remembrance where you do relate, as opposed to dwelling in where you are perceiving that you don't relate.
That's right.
Okay, because it's in the nature of the mind to become what it thinks. So when you get caught in a focus of our differences of opinion. If you stay right there focused on your differences of opinion, indeed, we arrive in a mental state where we believe that you and I essentially are different. As a matter of fact, you're now an enemy of mine, where a moment ago we were just brothers. It was all good just a week ago. All right. All right. So one of the things that you learn in the Moorish Science Temple of America is how to deal with emotions that are naturally sure to rise, okay, when things aren't, quote unquote, going your way, when people don't see things as you see them. Even in the Holy Quran of Mecca, we have it as the revealed word of Allah. There are things that are put in place so that we don't have to become each other's enemies and foes and opposition to you your way, to me mine. Because at the end of the day, what? Allah knows best. So Moorish American Muslims are specifically instructed in chapter 25 of the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Okay, we are specifically structured at instruction number 3 within chapter 25. It says, and when ye separate in the world, remember the relation that bindeth you to love and unity. Okay, and prefer not a stranger before thy own blood. So when we're saying prefer not a stranger before thy own blood, that part of the instruction comes at the end. So what does that tell you about us? Number one, we will defer. And number two, if we're not careful to remember where we actually relate, we'll start preferring a stranger before those who are feeding from the same etheric bloodstream that we are. And before you know it, we start to believe in certain things that cause disunity and separation. So, just to kind of bring it all together, in the Moorish Science Temple of America, what it does is it institutionalizes information in a way, right? It organizes and structures information in a way that you might not only just hear some words that are enamoring, all right, but actually be able to use what you're hearing in order to formulate more harmonious conditions within yourself, and therefore formulate more harmonious conditions between you and your brother man and sister woman, even when, as surely is true, even when you disagree or separate in the world. We're not going to share the same opinions. And I'd like to yield the floor. But before I do, I wanted to at least touch on something before we got farther from it. A lot of times, Brother Maurice, Pennington Bay, and Sister K. Glover Ill, a lot of times, one of the things I've realized in my travels and studies is people disqualify something that's really good for them, all because there's a misunderstanding and people are accepting certain interpretations. And one of the things that they use to disqualify the saving power that comes, from Allah, through our forefathers, by his prophet, Noble Drew Ali, and through the Moorish Science Temple of America, specifically through the divine and national movement within the Moorish Science Temple of America. One of the things they're using to disqualify, as has already been mentioned here tonight, is the seal thing. At the end of the day, I don't have to listen to anything that's being said because this ain't a quote unquote real prophet. Number one, you'll know the tree by the fruit it bears. What is a prophet? A prophet is a thought of Allah. What's the duty of a prophet? To save nations from the wrath of Allah. All right, so first thing we want to do before we start getting into these vain discourses, all right, and this foolishness and folly, is let's look at the words and deeds, because this, as the prophet Jesus said, will be proof of anyone's messiahship, anybody's mastery, anybody's adepthood, so forth and so on. Okay, now when you're dealing with a seal, one of the things we have to understand when we're interpreting things is Allah has not given the power to man to circumscribe Allah's actions. The thoughts of Allah change not. So when you look into the Holy Quran of Mecca, we have it as the revealed word of Allah. And it says that Allah is ever sending prophets or messengers to every nation. Ever means from the everlasting of the past until the never ending days to come. Be very careful when you think. All right. Be very careful when you adapt an understanding that tells you you have a right to say when Allah will stop or cease doing what he ever does. The thoughts of Allah change not. All right, thy doubts are of thine own raising. In the Holy Quran of Mecca, and we have it as the revealed word of Allah specifically, and this is because this has happened before. It's foolishness and folly. As a brother of mine used to say, this fantastic foolishness here. Okay, so in the Holy Quran of Mecca, in Surah 40, ayah 34, it reads, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, it says, and to you there came Joseph in times gone by with clear signs, but ye ceased not to doubt of the mission for which he had come. At length, when he died, ye said, quote, no messenger will Allah send after him.
That's right.
Thus, in this manner, does Allah leave to stray such as transgress and live in doubt. So there have already been a whole lot of talk about what Allah won't ever do again. This happened before, okay? And one of the things we have to look at is this, because questions are keys, ignorance is a lock, and sometimes that lock, you know what I'm saying, can be something that closes you into a situation that you don't want to be in. And before you know it, it will be your own brother that hides the key from you once you're locked into this position.
Who had the key, Mo?
We're supposed to be brothers.
We're supposed to be brothers.
You trying to keep knowledge. Right? And so right here, I want to just point out something here. You know, just for the sake of entertaining certain ideas that might serve to actually unify the Muslims and the Muslims all over the world. Okay? Because everybody believes in the words of Allah, but now all of a sudden the sheep can't recognize the voice. Okay? Just here, just looking in a regular desktop dictionary, okay? Regular desktop dictionary, just for the sake of not getting the total meanings of things, but I use the dictionary as a sort of grocery store where I collect material and then I go into the workshop of the mind and I start to reason and reflect and then structure the material so that I can have a harmonious output. But right here it says under seal, specifically looking at a noun, first and foremost, from an etymological standpoint, it speaks of a sign. Sign. All right. Now, there's no coincidence that the Holy Quran of Mecca speaks of clear signs. Okay. And the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, has been known as the seal of the prophets. Okay. So potentially he could be known as what? The manifestation of the living clear sign.
That's right.
Islam.
That's right.
Okay. All right, so that right there is just etymologically speaking for that word. So if that's a possibility, who decided that it wouldn't mean that? Okay, no problem. Okay, I digress. Now, so when we get to another definition, first definition, at least even Webster wouldn't say such thing.
Today.
Oh man, I remember when a brother used to tell me, I'm going to walk down the aisle and say some things. If I step on your feet, move them out the aisle. At number 1A, it says a seal is, speaking of S-E-A-L, a noun, okay? A seal, because I didn't even go to the adjective. A seal, something that confirms that what came prior is the truth. Well, how can you confirm it? Because I am the message I bring.
That's right.
Speaking of the prophet, Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. All right, so let me ask you this. Who said that seal couldn't mean a clear sign or one that's confirming? But I digress. These two definitions would serve to create too much harmony and unity, and God forbid Islam stands for that. Okay, no problem. There's a comma. It says that seal means ratifies, right? Come to actually put that stamp of approval and let it be known that yes, indeed, this is so.
That's right.
Okay, criterion, so to speak. All right, if you didn't know, today, you know, it says in the Holy Quran of Mecca, and I paraphrase that on a certain day, on this day, Islam was perfected. It's not to say from a mundane standpoint, from a mundane standpoint, it's not to say that Islam was ever imperfect from a finite standpoint. When we're talking about perfect, I'm talking about that not in the adjective sense, but the verb sense. In other words, to perfect a thing means to bring it into a form. It already was. Time never was when Islam was not, but now it has come into a form. A lot of us call it the Holy Quran. So I have perfected it. I have given the decree that these words be placed in a way that all men can see and read. You will be the living, walking pattern, the seal. So if they want to know if anybody prior to you was true, they can measure by looking at you and what you have brought. And if they want to know if anybody who comes after you, as surely they will, because the thoughts of Allah don't change. Then they'll be able to know if those are true or false prophets, because they will come bearing the same message that you brought, not the same way, because everybody doesn't need the same weaponry. You can't teach me how to be a good swordsman and wield a shield. They've got AR-15s in 2024.
Come on now.
So the war is still going on, but what I'll use to defend myself will change. Okay. So it said ratify. Then there's another one that says or makes secure, guaranteed, assures. So we have one that could have come to assure you that, yes, indeed.
Hold up, Mo. You done read like 5 definitions. You ain't said final yet.
That's right. It doesn't end. I'm not even going to keep going. I'm talking about there's at least let me see. Device, prevent passage, return, gas, seal from a verb standpoint. From a verb standpoint, even from a verb standpoint, it starts off saying to confirm or make secure.
That's right. Yeah.
So we got somebody that's coming to confirm and make it secure.
Exactly.
Where? Here. That Islam is the way. It is the al-Fatiha. It is the clear. I am a living clear sign. And this book that I brought you are instructions, right? That you might get on the straight path and be guarded from those upon whom the wrath of Allah has been laid upon, those who go astray. But none of these things could be it. Seal has to mean that what Allah has done and what Allah ever does since the thoughts of Allah changed not, has now changed. What man raise your hand then? Ye who have been given permission to circumscribe the thoughts of Allah, step forth that men might know who you are. Because not even a prophet has done it.
No.
Islam. And so we have to be very careful and make sure that we're investigating and to do it in a way where it can actually produce harmony, peace, unity. Why do it in that fashion? Because we're talking about Islam. That's right. This is what Islam does. Since the truth is but one, Islam unifies. And if the way you're looking up things and the explanations that you're accepting serve to separate, then you are not dealing with Islam.
That's right.
And the Moorish Science Temple of America doesn't teach that.
No.
Islam, I yield.
Islam, all praises
Islam,
due to Allah for the master students. For the Professor Drew's master student, Islam.
Islam. The veggie back real quickly is when you're talking about unity within Moorish Science Temple of America, I want to share my screen because there's some things within the temple that we all have, which one of the things is assurance clause or policy, right? So what is assurance? Assurance refers to financial coverage that provides remuneration for an event that is certain to happen. Assurance is similar to insurance. Let's see, let me get this out of here. With the terms often used interchangeably. However, insurance refers to coverage over a limited time, whereas assurance applies to persistence coverage for extended periods until death. Assurance may also apply to validation services by accountants and other professionals, right? So we're talking about validation services provided by other professionals, right? So your professionals are going to be your sheiks, Islam. Your professionals within the Moorish Science Temple of America is going to be those who are allowed to give instruction, right? Prophet Noble Ali being the example of the professional where we all came after. So when we look in the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, right, we talk about an assurance policy or an assurance clause. I'm going to read a couple of verses from the Holy Quran. So we have justice and fairness in trade, right? When thou sellest for gain, hear the whispering of consciousness and be satisfied with moderation, nor from the ignorance of thy buyer take any advantage. Pay the debts which thou owest, for he who gave thee credit relieth upon thy honor, and to withhold from him his due is both mean and unjust, right? So now we also have principles of charity. Happy is the man who has sown his breast the seeds of benevolence.
That's right.
Right? It says, the produce thereof shall be charity and love. From fountain of his heart shall rise rivers of goodness, and the streams shall overflow the benefit of mankind. And we have gratitude and obligation, right? As the branches of a tree return their sap to the root from whence it arose, as a river poureth its streams to the sea, whence the spring was supplied, so the heart of a grateful man delighteth in returning a benefit received.
That's right.
Islam.
He acknowledged his obligation with cheerfulness. He looketh on the benefactor with love and esteem.
That's right.
And lastly, another part of our assurance policy or our assurance clause within the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, we have social duties, right? When thou consider thy wants, when thou beholdeth thy imperfectness, acknowledge his goodness, O son of humanity, who honor thee with humanity, endow thee with speech, and place thee in society to receive and confer reciprocal helps and mutual obligations, right? And that is something that we all have, and we are all unified and continuing to provide and receive within the Moorish Science Temple of America. With that, I yield. Islam.
Islam, Islam, Islam. Praise Allah for the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and praise Allah for all the faithful members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. You know, because one thing that I know is that the Asiatics in America, for the most part, are asleep. They don't know how they benefit today by the coming of Allah's prophet to the Asiatic nations of America.
That's right.
All right. You see the hand of our leader, our teacher, and our guide on every single solitary Asiatic organization, group, or person who works to help uplift fallen humanity. We do not have a monopoly on the truth. We do not have a monopoly on this duty. We are not the only ones who are doing it. We are not the only grand body of the Moorish Science Temple of America living according to the law of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali as it was laid down by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. We do not make that claim because that would be mean and unjust, and it would be an outright lie. I know many good Moors, many good Moors, and I love every single solitary last one of you. I love you bad, dirty Moors. I love you bad, dirty Moors, you know, and I feel for you. You know, I feel for what you got coming to you, but you earned it. But you earned it. You know, and I hope that it makes you better. I hope that it opens your eyes. And before we go, I want to say like, subscribe, share, especially if you believe that what we said today was true. All right. And I want to share a degree with the Moors. Okay. Remember the relation that bindeth you to love and unity, and prefer not a stranger before thy own blood. Okay. Moses commanded, don't drink blood. Why? Because the spirit is in the blood. Ye are the children of one father, provided for by his care. Okay, so one say, man, them Moors in the Moorish Science Temple of America, they demonstrating shirk. They calling Allah their father. He is my daddy. Because his spirit is my spirit.
It's all.
By the sweet breath of Allah, all life is bound in one. By the sweet spirit of God, all life. And it's cruel. It's cruelty to yourself, because you only hurting yourself if you teaching different.
That's right.
You only hurting yourself because you only holding yourself back. Islam. With that, you know, I want to say praise Allah for my fellow master students. And paradigm shifting the podcast. You know, we trying to shift the paradigm to that one direction that the Prophet Noble Ali, the Prophet Muhammad, the Prophet Jesus, the Prophet Abraham, the Prophet Buddha, the Prophet Confucius, and all of Allah's prophets tried to get all of Allah's people moving in one direction.
Without doubt or contradiction.
That's what we doing here. We paradigm shifting into that direction. You know, we ain't trying to give you our schisms and isms. Islam, that's it, y'all. Y'all know how it go. Outro. Outro. Outro.